Welcome to another episode of the Livingroom Luthier with me, Mark Gillespie. If you're sitting at home thinking you want to get into guitar repair or you want to start building guitars, I'm going to take you through a minimum toolkit that you'll need to get started, so stay tuned. Right, so I've got lots of content to go through, so I'm just going to crack on with it. One thing that I will tell you is that I've accumulated my tools over a kind of 2-year period, starting with this kit that I got as a Christmas present off Amazon. You get these kits for about £30, a lot of decent tools in it. You get a set of needle files, which are really handy. Those ones are diamond tipped. You'll also get a set of feeler gauges, or radiusing gauges I should say. These are pretty cool. Go from 7¼ right up to 20, I think. So it lets you measure what kind of radius in your fretboard is. These ones are a wee bit on the rough side. When I got these part of a kit, the edges were kind of rough, so I just knocked them down with a wee bit of 400 grit sandpaper. You also get a really cool string action gauge, which is an imperial and metric. That's a pretty neat tool. You get a set of, there's 2 of these that come in the kit. I don't know where the smaller one is, but these are fretboard guards, so if you're doing fretwork you can put this over the fret and then you can use like a fret eraser or some steel wheel if you're polishing up the frets. Get a set of Allen keys there, you get a string winder, you get a set of snips, a set of feeler gauges as well. Feeler gauges I use all the time when I'm doing, when I'm trying to level a neck. What I'll do is I'll use my notch straight edge on the neck of the guitar, and then I'll use the feeler gauge in the gap, and I'll make the adjustments on the truss rod, and I'll find out if I'm going the right way or not. So they're really cool. You also get a set of, I've taken the key ring off of this, you get a set of needle files, right? Now I'll pull a couple of these out. Needle files. You know, it's a nice addition to the kit, but for me, I've tried using them, they're hopeless. So you'll get these in the kit, but yeah, they're not really up to the job. And depending what kit you get, you might get a few other things. You might get a fret rocker or, you know, a few other bits and pieces in it. But that was a kit I got bought for me as a Christmas present, which kind of started me off when I just started at college. Other tools that you're going to need, depending where you are in the world, you get a lot of different vendors. If you're in the United States, then you would probably go to StewMac. If you're in the United Kingdom, you probably want to go to Crimson Guitars. And if you're in mainland Europe, you've got Guitars and Woods, which the company is based in Portugal. So from them, I got 3 tools. So the first tool is a notch straight edge. There's 2 scales on this, 25.5 inch, 24.75 inch. What I've done was I've actually knocked off the edges there, and it allows me to check different scale lengths, which is pretty, I didn't have a 25 inch scale length and that's what I needed at the time, so I just took the corners out. Really handy. This was about £20. You also need a levelling beam as well, and I'll come back to this residue later on. But a levelling beam, absolutely ideal. You need that if you're going to try and do any sort of fret levelling job. And you also get a straight edge as well from Guitars and Wood. Again, each of these is around about £20. I got them, I picked them up over a year ago. Pretty handy, really good tool for checking squareness of a body blank, neck blank. If you've watched episode 3, or that's the video in my building, you'll actually see me using this just to make sure that my neck was actually, the fretboard was sanded down level. So really handy tool. If you are going to be doing a lot of guitar work, one of these is an absolute must. It's called a fret rocker, if you've never seen one before. Few different size edges on it. What you do is, if you're up at the upper register, you use a long blade, turn it around as you're working your way down the neck, as the frets get compressed and just work your way down. Again, I got this on Amazon. It was like £3 or £4. Crimson do a cracking one where they've actually knocked the corner off, and that's handy for mandolins and whatnot. So that's an absolute must-have in your toolkit. I've also got a small wrench. It tightens on one end and loosens on the other. Really handy wee tool. Again, Amazon, £2 or £3. What am I looking for now? If you're only doing guitar repairs, you might not need this. If you're going to be building a guitar, then a fret hammer is something that's an absolute must. This is a budget one. I got it from Wish. It's alright. It's okay. It does the job. I've used it on my Epiphone Explorer when I refretted that, and I used it when I was banging the frets into that fretboard, and it worked fine. Rubber end on one side, which is a wee bit softer, and you've got a hard plastic one on the other. You can hammer your frets all day long with the plastic side. It's never going to damage your fret, which is a good thing. But you get all the different ones. Crimson, I've got a dead. It's a brass headed one. It's like a dead blow. Never tried one, but I fancy getting one at some point. If you're getting into the more technical side of it, where you're starting to get doing fret dressing and leveling and recrowning and all that kind of thing, then you're going to need a selection of files. The ones that I've got, I've picked up mostly from my local hardware store. So I've got a flat, quite a fine grade on one side and quite a rough side on the other. Use that for leveling off the frets. So when I put the frets into my fretboard, I used that, I ran it up and down the neck, and it just took the rough edges in, made it just a wee bit more comfortable to work with. Get 2 crowning files here, so I'm going to go through both of them. There's pros and cons for each one. This one here's got concave sides, so you get concaved sides, I should say. It's got a small, medium and large, depending on the type of fret that you're working on. I've generally go for necks with jumbo frets in it because I've got kind of big fingers. So I tend to start off with the large one. I've actually marked all these so I know what side is large. So we'll start off with the large. That just hits the shoulders of the fret and just kind of puts a chamfer on them, and then I'll switch to the medium and I'll actually put the crown on. So it's a decent tool. Got that off of Amazon, but I've since went to a proper fret crowning file, and I used this file when I was doing the fret job on the PRS build, and I found that I had a lot more control. I could bring the crest of the crown up to a really fine line, and I had a lot more control over this. One side of the blade is actually ground down flat and round, so that it doesn't tear into your fretboard wood. Cracking tool was only a tenner. And the last of the files I've got is a very small fine file. What I used that for was actually rounding over the sides of the fret. So when I finished the fret job on this, what I done was I came in and just gently kissed the very end of the fret, and what that does is it brings up to a nice dome. Not only does it make it easier for you when you're playing, but just aesthetically it just looks a lot tidier. So one of these wee files is an absolute must. Again, local hardware store. We've got a place in Glasgow called Bill's Tool Store, and I've bought a lot of tools from there. But it was like about £2 or something, and it's a cracking wee file. So that's that. One last item, and the repair side of things is a set of fret rubbers. You get 180 grit, 400 and 1000 grit. They're ideal for just as soon as you finish filing. They're ideal to just take most of the tool marks out, but if you really want that mirror finish, you need to go up in the grits and the sandpaper. I'll use them to take most of the tool marks out, and then I'll swap to 1200 grit, and then I'll work up to 1800, 2000 grit, and then I'll stop there and hit it with also, go over it with my buffing wheel on my Dremel, and my frets end up absolutely like mirrors. That's just the way that I do it. There's a lot of other ways of doing it. Woodworking. If you're going to be actually building a guitar, you're going to need a lot more range of tools. So some of the tools that I relied on during my build were this engineer's square. absolutely ideal. Again, Bill's Tool Store, it was like £3-4 or something. Couldn't go wrong with that. That pulled me out a lot. I marked my frets out with that, and you know, done all sorts with it. So that was a cracking tool. Also got a bigger square as well for squaring off body blanks and that kind of thing, but I never used it during the build. You're going to need probably a couple of pairs of pliers. Needle nose pliers are ideal. I don't know how many times I reached for these during my build. I've also got a set of stubby, just normal pliers as well. They were handy every now and again. A good decent set of snips that are pretty sharp. I ended up having to use these to take the tangs off all my frets because I never had a fret tang nipper. So I had to do it manually with these, and these were ideal. So if you get a good set, ironically, no harm to B&Q in the UK, but these are a B&Q set, and I couldn't believe how well they cut fret tangs. So that'll be my go-to tool of choice next time I do a fret job. Moving on, files and rasps. I bought this, again, Bill's Tool Store. You know, they do like a whole range. They've got like a big bucket, and it's like a whole range of different files, and just it's your potluck what they've got there on the day. I managed to pick up a really rough cut, was called a bastard cut file. This was phenomenal. When I was doing the build and I was coming into areas like this, it would allow me to get into the curves. It also got me in here, this curve here, and this contour here. So where my other files and rasps couldn't go, this one removed a lot of material. It was really handy. It was only a couple of pounds. Got a metal one as well, which is a lot finer. The teeth on it are a lot finer. That was handy for doing a lot of contour work as well. So you might want that. So I've got a rough one and a really fine one. And a tool that needs absolutely no introduction was my Shinto saw rasp. If you're thinking about building a guitar, this is a #1 tool to buy. You will need a lot of other tools, but this is definitely the best £20 I've ever spent in a tool, ever. And I'm going to buy another one just so that I've got another one there. Simple construction. It's got two long saw blades that go right up to the end. It's actually riveted. You don't see it because I've got the end of it taped up. But two long blades that go along the side. One side is got really rough, it's like a rip saw blade on one side, and you've got a fine cut blade on the other. So what I was doing was, when I was starting to remove material, I'd go in with the light side just to get the cut into the wood, and then I would swap it around to the rip side, and then at that point that's when it really started going. Absolutely phenomenal tool. And the cracking thing is, because it's concertina, they're crisscrossed in the middle, it doesn't choke up, so you can just keep on working away. Just don't get too carried away, because there is a danger that you could take off too much material. But what a tool, what an phenomenal, absolutely brilliant. Other general woodworking tools, you're going to need chisels and gouges. If you're going to do anything like a carved top, you're going to need these tools. I got a set from Amazon as a gift. They were only like £16-17. When I got them, they were blunt. They were really blunt. But I invested in a diamond cut, a diamond plate sharpening stone. Got that on eBay for a tenner. 400 on one side and 1,000 on the other, and that brought them up to a decent sharpness real quick. Once they were sharpened, then I could take them over onto I've got a mini strop. Got this again, it was part of a kit. You get the strop, you get like 10 blocks of your polishing compound. Got a really rough side on one. One side's rough, one side's smooth. I've actually went out and bought a big sheet of leather, and I'm going to make myself a proper strop for doing my plane blades and all that kind of stuff, because working with that, I nearly took my finger off. If you're going to be doing a lot of sharpening, a honing guide is something that you're going to need to get. You don't need to spend a lot of money on it. I picked this one up for less than £10. It's really handy. It's got a list of the measurements for either plane blades or chisels. That'll tell you roughly how far the blade is extended to what the angle will be. Now that is okay, but what I preferred to do was I went out and bought an angle finder, digital angle finder. So put your chisel into your honing guide, put your angle finder on that, and then you can bring out more blade and get your angle at, between 25 and 30 degrees. And then you can go to work on your sharpening stone, and you know that you're going to be grinding in the proper level into it. Once you've done that, then polish the back of it, get all the burrs off, and then you can move to your papers and move up, so on and so forth. Other woodworking tools, I've got a protractor measure as well. This is really handy for doing like headstock angles. You just set it to the right angle and then tighten up, and then that'll tell you what your break angle is. So depending on the plans of the guitar that you're building, you can use this on the plan, and if it doesn't have it actually on the plan, then you can use this and figure out what angle that your headstock needs to be at. Really handy tool, and I used it when I was building that. Marking gauge. This is again simple tool. Get a spike at one end. You've got a movable jaw with a turn key. Measure your distance, and then you can then move that onto a piece of wood. I used it when I was doing the body on that, and I regretted doing it because the pin left too deep a hole, and I was sanding for hours trying to get rid of it, and that was around the whole circumference of the body. So what I've done is I've drilled a hole in it so I can get a pencil in, put the pencil in, and then I can use it that way. And that's what I'll do for the next guitar build I do. That's the way that I'll use it and not use a spike. But it's a handy tool to have, and that was like, a couple of minutes with a drill bit. Makes a simple, it makes it a lot better to use. While we're talking about pencils, you will need a range of pencils, whether they be normal pencils like this one. You can get packs of Carpenter's pencils to B&Q, or if you're in the UK, we've got a chain called Toolstation or Screwfix. Sell packets of 10 for like £2 or something, so you need them. Mechanical pencil, really handy as well when you're making, maybe you're having to work something actually on your plan, or if you're actually drawing the guitar out properly. Mechanical pencil is ideal. Don't try to use it on wood, it'll just not work. The leads are too thin, they just break. Planes. I picked up two planes. I picked up a number 4 and a number 5 from a local flea market. They were in quite bad condition. If you're interested, I'll leave a link to the restoration that I've done on my Facebook. I shared like a bunch of photographs and stuff. But I spent, I think it was £25 for the number 4 and the number 5 plane. The number 4 actually turned out really, really well. And although it's the Stanley Handyman line, which means you've got a plastic toe, plastic handle, and the frog, the screw for the frog is plastic as well. I've done a really good job sharpening up the plane, the blade. The chip breaker's nice and flat, it's sitting nice and flush, it's set up really well, and it works better than what I thought it would. Spent quite a bit of time polishing that up and getting all the rust off it. The number 5, I spent a lot of time on that as well, and it didn't turn out quite as well. The base of it is quite pitted, and it's absolutely no use to you. Well, it's no use to me. But I'll keep the blade and the chip breaker and that kind of thing. They'll come in handy. I'll just get another base for it. Block plane. Picked this up from Toolstation. Brand was Draper. Again, took the thing out of the box. It was blunt. Made sure the base was flat and square, sides as well. The actual unit itself is fine. Took the blade out, spent a bit of time, I think I spent about 3/4 of an hour to an hour, sharpening it up and just getting it honed down, put it in. And you see me using it when I was squaring off the end of my fretboard, when I made the shooting board, and the headstock as well. When I glued the wings on, I used the block plane to trim and flush all that off. So, cheaper tools, if you're willing to put a bit of work in and actually bring them up to a usable state, it is worth it. It's very rewarding. This thing would not have cut a slice of butter. It really wouldn't have. And I done really well with that, so that was a good wee buy. You'll need a set of screwdrivers as well. I picked up a set out of a chain that we've got in the UK called B&M. It was like £3.99, stubby handle, and it's like, I think it was 36 bits in the box for £4. Stubby handle, it's got a ratchet in it as well, so you can lock it whether you're tightening or loosening the screws, so really handy, £4. And that's, again, that's another cracking wee tool. Just, I know that I've mentioned it already, but the digital angle finder was a bit, well, I'm saying expensive, it was only like £25. Cracking, really good, a lot better than a spirit level, and I use it on my circular saw as well if I need to put a bevel into when I've got it mounted to my bench and the blade is coming up through. If I want it like a 35-degree angle, then I can tilt it and I just put this on the blade, and then it will tell me what the angle is. It means I can dial it in really accurately. Ideal, absolutely ideal, and if you're going to be doing any work like that, that's a must have. And again, sticking with woodworking, contour gauge. Again, this is a budget one. You can spend, I've seen contour gauges going for £50–60, depending on the precision that you're actually wanting. This one was fine for doing a guitar neck, and also with the plastic blades in it as well. I knew that it wasn't going to affect the finish on the guitar that I was trying to emulate. So I used this during my build, took the measurements off my Epiphone Explorer, and then when I was carving the neck on that, I was constantly taking measurements. 1st fret, 3rd fret, 7th fret, 12th fret, so on and so forth. Absolutely ideal, and to be honest, when I play my Explorer and then play that, there's very little difference. So a contour gauge, if you're going to be carving a neck, it's not essential. You can do it by feel. You can also buy acrylic templates or contour kind of guides from G&W. I don't know if Crimson do them yet. I think they're about to start doing them, but certainly G&W and Stu Mac over in the States, they do them, and it's precise, whether it be a Stratocaster, Les Paul, Telecaster, that kind of thing. But this is good enough. Done me a job. Card scrapers. I got a set of 3. I don't know where my other one is. The other one's like a gooseneck. But card scrapers, phenomenal buy. You know, again, what's the brand is Footprint. You know, I think it was like 20 quid for a set of 3 on Amazon. A really good buy, cracking tool. Watch some videos on YouTube of these things getting used, because that's what I've done, and I used it to great effect. Really awkward to sharpen, but there's a lot of good videos out there as well. But set of 3, one comes with a convex, a concaved end. You've got the apex on the other side, and you've also got 2 straight edges as well, so you can use it whatever way you want. One is like a credit card. This was ideal for scraping out glue at my glue joint between my guitar neck, my body and my neck. Dead easy to sharpen, that one. And the gooseneck one is like an upside down comma. That, again, really awkward to sharpen. Once it was sharpened, it was phenomenal. So definitely you want to get yourself a set of scrapers. And as Ben said, they're just, a lot of guitar builders don't use them, and they should. Phenomenal tool. Centre punch for punching into metal, and a bradawl for punching into wood. Essential if you're going to be using brad point drill bits for drilling peg holes, you know, holes for the posts, that kind of stuff. You need to centre your hole with one of these, so your brad point finds the indentation and then just follows that straight down. So invaluable. It's like 99p at the local hardware store, and my centre punch I've had for years. Guitar electronics, there's not really a lot to it, but if you're going to be doing any work, you will need a soldering iron. This is a Parkside branded one that I got from my supermarket of all places, Really handy. It's got a dial that I can control the heat that's going into the gun. That's really handy because you don't want to overheat your components. You can burn them out and that kind of thing, cause more problems trying to fix stuff. Cracking wee kit. Again, it was only like 25, 30 quid, I think it was. You've got a couple of reels of some sort of solder. I don't know actually what this is. There's no markings on the reels or anything, so I've never used it. But it would get you going. It would get you started. Comes with a neat wee sponge as well, and there's a wee tray there you can use for cleaning the tabs. So you know, don't need to break the bank. That was a cracking buy. While we're talking about guitar electronics and you're doing soldering, you'll need one of these. This is called a solder sucker. So what you do is you just compress, it's sprung loaded, you press it in until it makes a click, put your heat into your solder. Once it goes to a fluid, press the button and it sucks the fluid up into the empty chamber. Because the empty chamber's cold, the solder sets really quickly, and then when you push down on the plunger again, the solid solder comes out the bottom and it comes into a tube, so you can spit it out and then put it in the bin. It's really neat and definitely worth having. For stripping cables, you can't go wrong with a set of these. These ones are sprung loaded, really handy. A lot of different gauges. I'll just bring that up to the camera, hopefully that'll pick it up. But I'll actually tell you on the blades what set of jaws, well, where in the set of jaws you need to have your cable to strip it off effectively. Really handy, really precise tool, well worth having. And belt and braces, if you're cutting cables, just get a precision set. These two are a Panjet brand. I got these from an old job, and they're ideal for guitar work. And that brings it to an end. The tools that I've shown you in this video are what I would consider to be a minimum toolkit if you were wanting to start doing guitar repairs at home and you want to be doing it at a decent enough level. So what I've showed you tonight is what I would consider to be a minimum amount, or a minimum toolkit to have. If you've enjoyed the content and you find it interesting, please hit the like button. You can also hit the subscribe button as well if you want to see more content. I've got more build videos coming towards the end of the year. But for the time being, thanks very much for all the support. Stay safe out there. It's a crazy old world, and I'll see you in the next one. Alright, take care. Bye.